Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope you're doing fantastic. I know I am. And one of the things that I talk about, I guess I allude to more than talk about, but one of the things that I allude to would be simulation theory, in that I often call this world, I call it a lot of things: a world, realm, sometimes planet, but I often call it the construct. And while most people take that to mean simulation, that's not necessarily the case. Although I am very open to simulation theory. And that doesn't necessarily mean a computer simulation. That does not mean necessarily that we are our true selves, what we would call our higher self, is outside of the construct and then jacked into these avatars as a means of, as I say, navigating and interacting in this construct. And when you use that word, in a lot of cases, people take it as something to do with the simulation theory. Now, I'm not opposed to it. Then, when you get into simulation theory, then it's like most people will automatically assume you mean a computer simulation. Is not necessarily the case either. Because there is, I guess it's a theory. It's definitely not proven, but there is a belief in the divine matrix. And I tend to probably lean more that way. Because I do believe that the universe is mind. It's a creation inside the mind of the creator. And I do know that one thing that quantum physics teaches us is that nothing really exists until it's observed. That's just kind of it's a problem with things like that. But anyway, one thing that we understand, and that's been proven with the double slit experiment, and probably to a lesser degree, Schrodinger's cat, which that is more of just an example. But the double slit experiment kind of proved it, in that, anything that's not being observed is not physical matter. It is, or what it may be. That's just it. Until it is observed, we don't know. So therefore, we can't really go with the whole, you can do what you want, but it's hard for me to reject the cosmic accident theory, in that all this just happened. The universe just happened. And nothing created it. It just happened. That, to me, well, for one, it is a creation. Everything has to have been observed from some angle, from some being, right? If we do not, because that whole other cosmic accident model also implies that consciousness is not really a thing. It's really just a product of the brain. But there is an incredible, good grief, there is an incredible amount of evidence that would suggest that the brain does not create consciousness, that the brain is really just like a radio. It is a transmitter and receiver. It's like a two-way radio. Two-way radio. So, and what do I mean by that? Well, lots of things. It seems that there is a field of knowledge. There is a field of everything. And we can, in altered states or whatever, higher states of consciousness, whatever you want to call it, we can access this field. And we have been shown lots of proof that everything is connected. Now, give me an example of that proof, Matt? Okay. Telepathy, for example. Or there's one story I heard. I really wish I'd looked it up. Anyway, there's a story of these little girls who were twins. This was in Spain. And They were twins. They were about 4 years old. One of them wanted. They were going. One of them went to spend the day or the whatever weekend with the grandmother, a certain distance away. And the other twin decided, I want to stay home and spend time with mom or whatever. So the twin who was the twin who stayed home with mom was helping with chores or whatever, but she ended up burning her hand very seriously on a hot iron, and immediate, like a 3rd-degree burn, big blister. It was shaped a certain way, and all of those things. At that exact moment, the twin, who was many miles away, also felt an extreme amount of pain in her hand in that same spot. Now you might think, well, okay, that's that connection that twins have. Well, the plot thickens, because not only did that happen, but the twin who was not even there, not only did she feel the pain, she actually developed a blister that was, it looked exactly, it was in the exact place, and it looked exactly like the one on the girl who did get burned. This is a true story. So there is proof of the field. There is proof of connection. And that isn't a brain-to-brain connect. Well, it may be, but there has to be a medium into which we are connected outside of this. But, I mean, again, that is a belief thing. Some people just flat out reject that belief. That's fine. But I do not. And I can give reasons why I don't. That's why I recommend, even if you're a spiritual person such as myself, that's why I recommend reading certain books, such as Stalking the Wild Pendulum by Itzhak Bentov. I talk about that book all the time. Because there's scientific proof to help back up your spiritual belief. And it's like, do you need scientific proof? No, you don't necessarily need it, but it is nice. It only strengthens your belief. And it justifies your belief. And if you are trying to convince others to maybe possibly come your way, well, that's one way you can do it. That book, for example, I've told people, I'm like, that's a kind of a book you could give to a pure materialism, cosmic accident atheist and say, here, just read this book. And they can't really argue with it because everything in it is scientific. And then it's, well, kind of proves our spirituality. But there are so many things that if the universe were truly just kind of out there with no simulated anything about it, then there would be a lot of just randomness. But if we really dig in and look at things, there is no randomness to anything. For example, Bode's law, or however you want to pronounce it, Bode. It's B-O-D-E. So, whatever. Look it up. Anyway, Bode's law is very interesting in that, and I've got to look at my notes here, in that if you take the sun, our sun, and you assign that a value of 0, and then Mercury, Mercury is at the 4 position. Okay, so everything starts with a 4. So Mercury is 0 plus 4 equals 0. So Mercury is at the 4 position. Then Venus, which is next, we add a 3 to it. So 3 plus 4 is 7. And then now we've got the 4 position. Then we've got the 7 position. And then Earth, and then what we do is that 3 that we added, we double that. So now Earth is 6 plus 4, which puts Earth at the 10 position. Next is Mars. So we take that, we started with the 0, then we added 3 to it. So we got the 3 plus 4, that's Venus. Then we doubled the 3, and we got 6 plus 4, that's Earth, that's the 10. Now Mars is 12, because we doubled the 6. Mars is 12 plus 6. That puts it at the 16 position. Then, this is when it gets tricky, because the next one would be double the 12. So 24 plus 4 would put something at the 28 position. But there's nothing there. So like, well, I guess that little theory just broke down. Hold on. hold on. The plot does thicken. So we got that 24. Now we're going to double that. That's 48. 48 plus 4 is 52. Well, guess what? Jupiter is exactly right there. It's at the 52 position. Saturn, the next one. We take that 48, we double that to 96. Add the 4 to it, as usual. That's 100. So Saturn is right there. Now, hold on. This was before Uranus was discovered, by the way. However, Uranus also falls right in line. It follows that exact pattern. Right. I didn't put it in my notes though. Please don't hate me. So Saturn, so you have all of them falling right in position. So where is that one that's missing between Mars and Jupiter? That 24 plus 4 equal 28. Well, there is something there. It's called the asteroid belt. Now, in 1800, Piazzi, I'm assuming he's Italian, discovered Ceres, which is a very, very small body in the asteroid belt. Well, it's exactly where a planet should be following the pattern. And then that was before they discovered the asteroid belt. Now we see that there is a lot of the asteroid belt is exactly where a planet should be. Well, I mean, and you can talk to some people. There are a lot of people out there that think that it was a planet. What do they call it? Marduk or something. Anyway, they say it was a planet, and that that's what happened to Mars also, is that there is evidence on Mars based on isotopic ratios in the atmosphere. Okay. That there's isotopic ratios in the atmosphere indicate that there was an atomic bomb, like a hydrogen bomb, detonated on that planet at some point within the last 2 billion years. Okay, fine. I mean, there's no way to prove any of that. It's like, okay, well, I mean, that's okay. I mean, you can't prove it. So we can either just go with it or not. So a lot of people, so the legend is that this planet, which is where the asteroid belt should be, and the planet Mars, at some point, 2 billion within the last 2 billion years, went to war, and it got ugly. They dropped nukes. Mars was pretty much destroyed as far as being habitable. So the legend goes. But they actually blew that other planet to bits, literally. And now it's the asteroid belt. All right, fine. Why did I tell you all that? Just because that is the legend, and if anybody's watching this that is like, hey, what about that? Well, now you know. I am aware of that. Now, what does it matter? What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Nothing. Nothing. All I'm saying is that there is too much patterning everywhere. Everywhere is patterning that would indicate some intelligent design. Now, does that mean we're living in a computer? No. Does it mean? It doesn't mean anything except that there is intelligent design. This is a controlled environment. Now, are we confined to this planet? Is this all there is? Maybe. Or are we confined maybe just to the solar system? Is the Oort cloud that kind of encases the solar system, is that kind of the barrier? Maybe. Or is it confined to the Milky Way galaxy? Maybe. I don't know. Here's what I do know. I don't know, but here's what I do know. There is so much patterning. There is no chaos in the universe. There is no disorder anywhere. And that indicates some kind of intelligent design. And then we bring ourselves back to consciousness. And what does that mean to anything? All that really means is there is something outside of us, outside of physicality. It indicates that we are connected to a cloud, just like cloud computing. Take your phone, for example. You can access anything through your phone. Your phone would be like your brain. You can access anything in the cloud, in the field. But you don't necessarily have everything. You've got what you know. You've got what you got, but you've got access to everything else. It's just an analogy. But you can, and here's more of that. Like Nikola Tesla. Tesla, when asked where did he come up with some of his ideas, he would just go into a trance state, a meditative state, and I guess he didn't have the word download, but he described what we would call a download. He downloaded all of these fantastic inventions. He would invent something very intricate and sophisticated and just wow in a matter of hours. And he didn't necessarily take credit for it. He didn't want credit for his things. He just wanted to help humanity. But regardless of all of that, what he did was he had a download from the field, or what we would call the cloud. And let me check my notes real quick here, y'all. That's mainly what I've got. I've got other bits. I mean, like the miracle or whatever at Fatima, and I was raised a good Catholic boy when I was young, but so I should know that. But I'm going to have to do a little more digging on that. But the events that happened at that are more proof of some kind of organized that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not even going to go there. So Bode's law with the placement of the planets, and yeah, where the asteroid belt is, that kind of is the aha. It's like, aha, see, it's not a pattern at all because you got something missing there. Well, no, there's something there. And what's even more kind of wild about it is where it is exactly where it should be if it follows the pattern from out of the sun. There's another way of doing it. There's that one. I like that one because it's a lot easier and I'm not scientific or mathematic, whatever. But yeah, I mean, the sun is 0. Then you got Mercury at the 4. Oh yeah, that one's just the same thing, really. But you got Mercury at the 4. You've got Venus at the 7, Earth at the 1, and then so on and so forth. But anyway, you can calculate where it is as far as astronomical units are concerned. If you, it just reduces it down and says, okay, 1 astronomical unit is the distance from the sun to the earth, because that's our point of reference. So if we could say this is 1. So what is Mercury? Okay, that's 0.4. What is Venus? Okay, that's 0.7. And then here we are at the 1. And then we quickly realize every time we do that, we are we're doubling the 3. So anyway, that's what I got, loved ones. Yeah, I'm going to get more into this. And it's like, well, what does that got to do with what you talk about, Matt? You talk about creating reality and separating yourself from the collective and all of that. Well, it's got a lot to do with it. Because for one thing, it says what we are here to do. Right? What would be the purpose of all of this? Why are you, what's the purpose? I would say, venture to guess, is that it is a containment, a way of, what's the word? Well, containment. Yeah. It's like a quarantine, I guess. That way we can run wild and run amok and tear everything up and not contaminate the outside world. But I mean, simulations are ran right now for lots of things to speculate about weather patterns or whether or not that asteroid is going to hit the Earth sometime in the next 200 years. They'll simulate it all the way out. Yeah. So there's that. All right, loved ones, that's really what I got. Please like these videos if you would, please, and subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciated. I'm also on Substack. You can find me as just Matt Stevens. And the audio podcast is My Sober Addiction, anywhere you get podcasts. Anyway, please subscribe, and I love you, and I'll be back directly. Right?